Imagine stepping outside into your backyard, and instead of waiting half a decade or more for a single fruit tree to finally deliver a modest harvest, you're surrounded by waist-high, neatly shaped shrubs overflowing with fruit. No lonely apple 20 feet up in the branches, no handful of peaches you can barely reach, but dense clusters, heavy, shining, effortless to pick. Branches arched under their own weight, bowls filling fast. Plants that take up less space than a patio chair but produce like miniature orchards. Here's what many gardeners never realize. Square foot for square foot, compact fruiting bushes can easily outproduce full-sized fruit trees. They grow faster, bear fruit sooner, and are simpler to prune, protect, and harvest, all without ever needing a ladder. Let's start with a champion among them. 1. Blackberries. Blackberries perfectly illustrate this new way of thinking about fruit production. They don't crave open space or deep root zones. Instead, they channel their growth into long, slender canes that can be guided and trained. This vertical nature is their greatest asset. One modest blackberry row grown along a fence or trellis can transform unused edges of your garden into a productive food strip. Instead of one high canopy producing a single crop, you get layer upon layer of berries, right at arm's reach. No fruit wasted, no harvest missed. Modern thornless varieties make the experience even better. There's no wrestling with spiny branches, just clean, easy pruning and picking. You're managing a system, not taming a wild plant. Their life cycle couldn't be simpler. Each year, new canes emerge and store energy. The next year, those same canes focus entirely on fruiting, then are pruned away after their work is done. The rhythm repeats, steady, predictable, and productive. You're not waiting years for maturity. You're not guessing at timing or worrying about irregular harvests. Instead, you get a continuous, manageable pattern that fits right into everyday life. A few minutes of picking every few days, bowls filling gradually, fruit ripe when you need it. For gardeners who want reliability and real self-sufficiency, this rhythm is gold. 2. Raspberries? Raspberries take that same concept and multiply it. While blackberries focus on controlled vertical growth, raspberries are all about expansion and abundance. Each cane is productive, but the real magic lies underground. Once established, raspberries send up new canes from the root system, naturally widening the patch year after year. That means your harvest potential keeps growing without extra effort or space. Every new shoot becomes another fruiting branch, and before long, one small planting becomes a dense, fruit-heavy hedge. Many ever-bearing varieties push productivity even further, offering 2 harvest waves, early summer and again in fall. This extended season spreads out the workload, minimizes waste, and provides a steady supply of fresh berries for months. Trained against a simple support or trellis, raspberries form a living wall of fruit. They grow up, not out, perfect for small spaces. Maintenance is refreshingly straightforward. Once a cane finishes fruiting, cut it down. New growth immediately takes its place. There's no complicated pruning chart, no major planning, just a natural repeating cycle you guide gently. Compare that to a traditional fruit tree. One raspberry row can yield far more fruit from a fraction of the space, with less time, effort, and risk. Together, crops like blackberries and raspberries highlight a key principle of efficient food gardening. Output isn't about size, it's about density, renewal, and access. When fruit grows where you can reach it easily, harvests become larger, faster, and far more enjoyable. That's why small fruiting shrubs continue to prove themselves not just as garden additions, but as some of the smartest, most productive investments you can make. 3. Blueberries. Blueberries are one of the best examples of how small, well-planned plants can quietly outperform full-sized fruit trees. At first glance, they're unassuming, compact, tidy, and modest. But over time, their productivity tells a different story. A mature blueberry bush rarely grows taller than chest height, yet it can produce a surprisingly heavy crop. Each branch carries clusters of blossoms, nearly every one capable of turning into fruit. As the plant matures, more of its framework becomes fruit-bearing wood, transforming almost the entire bush into a living engine of production, from top to bottom. One of their biggest advantages is how quickly they reward patience. Unlike many fruit trees that take years before producing meaningfully, blueberries start paying off early. Within just a few seasons, they deliver harvests that rival much older trees. And because they don't require massive spacing or deep root zones, you can plant several bushes where one tree would normally stand, each one an independent, high-yield unit. Maintenance is refreshingly easy. Pruning isn't about controlling shape or height, it's about renewal. You simply remove older stems to encourage new growth. There's no ladder, no risky cuts, no complex shaping to learn. Everything stays within comfortable reach. Another key advantage is protection. Since blueberry bushes stay compact, covering them with bird netting is quick and effective. You can actually protect your entire crop, something nearly impossible with tall trees where the top branches belong to the birds. Blueberries also fit effortlessly into almost any garden layout. You can grow them along fences, form edible hedges, or keep them in large containers where soil acidity can be perfectly tuned. That flexibility means every bit of garden space, vertical and horizontal, can contribute to your harvest. Add more bushes, and your total yield grows without adding complexity. 4. Gooseberries. Gooseberries take a completely different approach to productivity, but with the same goal, turning overlooked spaces into reliable food sources. While blackberries use vertical growth, gooseberries thrive in the quiet corners, the cooler, partially shaded parts of the garden that other fruiting plants usually can't handle. They don't demand full sun. They perform even in less than perfect conditions, often improving in cooler climates. This adaptability makes them incredibly useful for filling areas where other crops struggle. A mature gooseberry bush may look small and humble, but when it fruits, the results are striking. Its arching branches bend under the load, dense with round, translucent berries. And because it stays low, every fruit is within reach, no ladders, no missed harvests. That accessibility translates directly into higher usable yield. The fruit you can reach is the fruit you actually pick. Trees often waste harvest potential in hard-to-reach branches. Shrubs like gooseberries eliminate that problem entirely. They're also low maintenance. Gooseberries don't need fancy pruning or constant management. Remove older wood, let light in, and the plant takes care of the rest. Cold tolerance and self-fertility make gooseberries particularly dependable. Late frosts that ruin tree blossoms rarely harm them. Harsh winters that set back other fruiting plants seem to barely affect their rhythm. Nutritionally, they're small but mighty, high in vitamin C and antioxidants, with a tangy flavor perfect for preserves, desserts, and sauces. They turn ordinary garden corners into year-round value. When you start combining these shrubs intentionally, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, you create a layered, resilient ecosystem. Early gooseberries provide the first harvests, followed by mid-season blueberries and raspberries, and then late, heavy crops from blackberries. Each plays a role, each uses space differently, and together they stabilize production through the full growing season. Instead of relying on one or two large trees with short, unpredictable harvest windows, you build a steady, diversified system that spreads risk across species and seasons, keeps something producing in most conditions, eliminates wasted space, makes harvesting simple and continuous. No ladders, no overloaded weekends of processing, no unreachable fruit left to rot. Just consistent, accessible, efficient production, driven by plants built for it. 5. Currants. Currants are another understated powerhouse, quiet, compact, and astonishingly productive year after year. A mature currant bush forms a tight framework of branches heavy with long strings of berries. Red, black, or white all share the same growth habit. Slender canes covered in clusters so abundant they seem to double overnight. Currants are unique in how they age. Unlike many fruiting plants that lose vigor over time, currants improve with age. Each passing year strengthens the structure, expands fruiting wood, and increases the total yield. You're not constantly rebuilding, you're developing a lifetime producer. Pruning is uncomplicated. You don't sculpt or reshape, just remove the oldest stems to open space for younger shoots. The result is a clean, accessible bush that keeps producing without turning wild. They also shine in small or cooler gardens. Currants don't sprawl, don't demand deep soil, and don't require blazing sun. They fit beautifully between other crops or along fences and walls, thriving where larger fruit trees would struggle. Despite their modest height, their output is substantial. Even a waist-high bush can deliver bucket after bucket of fruit. And because berries hang in organized clusters, harvesting is fast. You lift whole strands instead of searching for individual fruit. Nutritionally, currants are remarkably dense. Black currants, in particular, are loaded with vitamin C and rich antioxidants. Their strong, tart flavor makes them perfect for preserves, cordials, and syrups, foods that capture their value long after the harvest. 6. Honeyberries. Honeyberries, also known as Haskap, operate on an entirely different schedule, and that early timing is exactly what makes them so extraordinary. Unlike most fruiting plants that wait for warm weather, honeyberries wake up first. They bloom while many gardens are still half asleep and ripen weeks ahead of strawberries. In many climates, they're the first fresh fruit of the year, bridging the gap between winter dormancy and summer abundance. Their growth style is neat and compact. Honeyberry shrubs stay well-shaped and never outgrow their space, making them easy to fit into any garden layout. They don't overshadow nearby plants or sprawl uncontrollably. They simply produce steadily within their niche. Cold hardiness is one of their strongest traits. These shrubs evolved in subarctic regions, so frost or long winters barely affect them. While late freezes can devastate the blossoms of peaches or apricots, honeyberries shrug them off. That reliability makes them perfect for northern climates or unpredictable spring weather. The only challenge, early bloom pollination, is easily handled by planting 2 compatible varieties for cross-pollination. Once that's in place, they deliver consistent yields year after year. The berries themselves are long, deep blue and packed with antioxidants. Nutritionally, they rival blueberries, but their flavor, bright and tart, adds variety to the harvest season. They freeze exceptionally well, blend beautifully into sauces, and bring an early burst of freshness when you're still finishing last year's preserves. An unexpected bonus: they ripen before birds become a problem. Most bird species haven't yet begun their intense feeding cycles, meaning less competition and less need for protective netting. When combined with other compact fruiting plants like currants, honeyberries fill the crucial early season gap. Currants handle mid-season abundance. Honeyberries mark the start of it all. Together, they transform the growing season from one short harvest into a continuous wave of fruit, from spring through late summer. Add them to a lineup of blueberries, raspberries, gooseberries, and blackberries, and your garden shifts from scattered plantings to a self-sustaining food system, a rhythm of growth and renewal rather than a single annual event. 7. Dwarf mulberries. When people hear mulberry, they often picture massive trees shading half a yard, scattering fruit faster than anyone can collect it. But dwarf mulberries rewrite that image entirely. These compact bush-type mulberries channel all the abundance of their tree-sized relatives into a much smaller, easily managed plant. Instead of pouring their energy into height and thick trunks, they focus on dense branching and extended fruiting. The difference is remarkable. Most fruit trees follow a single flush pattern, one big harvest, and then they're done. Dwarf mulberries ripen in stages, producing continuously over several weeks. That turns harvest time from a frantic rush into a calm, steady routine. One of their best features is how clearly they signal ripeness. When berries are ready, they fall easily with the slightest nudge. A gentle shake or a sheet spread under the branches can yield pounds of fruit in minutes. No guesswork required. Growth is fast and forgiving. Dwarf mulberries establish quickly and thrive in heat that would exhaust more delicate plants. Once mature, they tolerate drought well, making them a godsend for hot, dry climates that challenge traditional fruit trees. Despite their size, their output is impressive. Deep purple fruit appears daily, enough for snacking, baking, freezing, or drying. A single shrub can supply an entire household's needs without complicated pruning or maintenance schedules. 8. Elderberries. Elderberries bring another dimension to efficient fruit production, one focused on structure, resilience, and long-term strength. Elderberry plants grow fast and vigorously, sending up multiple canes that fill space quickly. They adapt to a wide variety of soils, including ones too poor or uneven for most fruit crops. Once rooted, they thrive where other plants only manage to survive. When fruiting arrives, it's dramatic. Branches end in heavy, umbrella-like clusters of small, dark berries, rich in antioxidants and revered for their health benefits. These aren't casual snacking fruits, but high-value harvests suited for syrups, tonics, and preserves. Mature bushes produce generous crops year after year and are simple to control. Cut back older stems, encourage new shoots, and they respond with renewed vigor and higher yields the next season. All the maintenance happens at ground level. No ladders, no complex pruning diagrams. Planting multiple varieties slightly boosts production through cross-pollination, turning elderberries into one of the most reliable long-term food sources in a home garden.